Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who made a couple of big revelations last night. She went on her Instagram Live and wanted to talk really about more about her experience on January 6th. You remember she had said a week after the riot that she, that something had happened that she felt was a near-death experience, but she couldn't give us more details. Well, she provided more detail last night. She also revealed something about her past, and the reason she brought this up is she wanted to provide context for what she's clearly going through right now, the trauma that she is reliving from the insurrection. So here's what she had to say.
These folks who tell us to move on, that it's not a big deal, that we should forget what's happened, or even telling us to apologize, these are the same tactics of abusers. And I'm a survivor of sexual assault. And I haven't told many people that in my life. But when we go through trauma compounds on each other.
Yeah, and she went on to talk about
she has PTSD from this.
Yeah, and the trauma. And her point was what she went through on January 6th and others and everyone in Congress, but what she went through, and particularly her, because we know that there were people who were planning to go in there and at the very least take her hostage, if not.
Well, and she did talk about what she believed was her near-death experience, that there was a Capitol police officer who was pounding on the door of her office when she was inside the office, locked in fear, and pounding, calling her name.
Yelling, "Is she here?
Where is she?
Where is she?"
Well, she did not know who this was, but thought it was somebody who was out to get her. And at the time, remember, people were fearing for their lives. It looked like they were there to kill people. So she is sitting there thinking, I'm going to die. And at one point, and it's just heartbreaking when you hear her talk about this, she said, I almost resigned myself to the fact that God had a plan and I had already served my purpose. And she started to tear up. Yeah. So it was horrific for her. And as she said, I mean, this is a PTSD experience that no one forgets.
So you guys remember in the beginning of this, when AOC first spoke out, this was January, this was almost a month ago now, right? So she talks about trauma and PTSD. It's taken her this long to even be able to detail and open up about that specific incident that she talked about, where she specifically felt like she was going to die. So to have people telling her like, oh, you should just get over it. It's taken her this long to even be able to talk about it. It's not something you just get over. And then she goes into thinking, you know, when she finally did come out from behind that door where she's hiding, there is a Capitol police officer, but something still didn't feel right. So she didn't know where the attacks were coming from. There was a lot of built up kind of like terror, because she had been hearing for weeks leading up to January 6th that something was going to happen. Some of her colleagues were suspecting something was going to happen specifically to themselves. So you can only imagine the fear that she'd been walking around with for weeks. She's in this situation where she doesn't know who's the hero and who's the villain, who's out to get her and who's not. And then you have people telling her, just get over it. But like her live yesterday, I literally like was tearing up with her. I can only imagine.
Yeah, she was on there for about 2 hours. And, you know, to your point, Lauren, what she said about not knowing where the attack was coming from, even when she saw a Capitol police officer, she had to think.
She didn't know whether he was friend or foe. She did not know whether they were friend or foe, because you're looking at, remember, she was in the middle of all of this. So she's seeing some officers who are being incredibly heroic, and she may have encountered some who might have looked like they might be facilitating this. There were a few, at least they're under investigation. So you can only imagine when you don't know who your friend is and who's out to get you.
In that situation, yeah.